So tell us about Jumper.
Hi, I'm Ayman Saman. I'm the writer, director, producer, actor in Jumper. Jumper started out with just an idea that I had while driving, hearing on the radio about somebody trying to jump off a building in Los Angeles. And through that incident, it got me to think about a lot of actually dark moments that I have gone through, and to think about what is the motivation for someone to go publicly like that. And then the story started brewing or percolating in my mind, and then eventually I wanted to write a story that represented people like me who are marginalized in the media or stereotyped in the media. Because, like I mentioned before, I really believe that once we see ourselves represented in the media, we don't feel alone anymore, and we feel like there's other people like us going through the same things, and it takes us out of our isolation. I also wanted to create opportunities for other Middle Eastern actors like me to be seen in non-stereotypical roles. So I think that's kind of the gist of the whole project. And we also wanted to talk about a very marginalized, LGBTQ community is already marginalized, but we wanted to talk about a specific marginalized in the marginalized community, which is the Q, the questioning people that are not sure who they are, and hopefully push the envelope and not only questioning just our sexual identity, but question everything. Why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we having this job that we have? Do we have it because we love it, or do we have it because it's just a job? So it opens the door to question everything. So that's kind of the premise that drove the story.
I was there when the script was written. Ayman shared it with me, and I thought it was beautiful. Like I said in there, it had Middle Eastern characters, or not. My character, the agent, FBI agent, she wasn't Middle Eastern, right? You don't know really what she is. But what I liked about it is that I was a Middle Eastern woman playing a normal person in a film, right? Whereas most, a lot of people who are Middle Eastern women, they're either in films in America they're either oppressed, or they have something to do with oppression or war. So that was exciting for me in terms of the character. But the film in general, it really hit home for me, the story about a young Middle Eastern man who is afraid to come out, so he's not an outcast in his community and his family, because I grew up with people like that. Whether they are immigrants or their families are immigrants and they grew up here, or they were raised as Arabs Americans here. And I'm discovering that as an adult, is that some of the people that I grew up with came out, but not to their families and not to their specific community, the Middle Eastern community. And when I decided to become an actress and a filmmaker, one of the things that I had to step back and kind of reflect on why I wanted to do this. And I questioned. Yeah, see, we question everything. And I thought about my purpose, and in terms of, this is a platform that's going to speak to the world. What do I want to say, and why am I doing it? And my purpose was to be a voice to those people whom I say they have a voice. I don't like saying to the voiceless, because that's very dehumanizing. I think everyone has a voice. It's just that they don't have that platform, and they don't have the megaphone, and they can't be loud enough. And so if we're able to do that, the few people that can have that power, then we're able to speak for a lot more people.
Inspire them to use their voice.
And inspire them, definitely, that it's okay. And have that community, and for them to feel safe, right? So that's what really struck me when I read the script and the story is, wow. So, you know, I'm Arab American, I'm Muslim, and I'm a woman at the same time. So all of those check the box of, you know, you know, being kind of, you know, all the stereotypes we see, of course, especially in the recent era, of which, you know, Muslims are being banned in this country, and we're, you know, not to go into too much detail about that, I think everybody already knows, but I think this is the time for us to say, no, we will be heard, and you will listen to us, and we're here, and we are going to do great.
I think, and to show Arab Americans or Muslim Americans or Middle Eastern characters struggling in their life like anybody else, you know, like we're all going through a lot of struggles, and I feel like we don't really see these struggles because we're pigeonholed in explosions, and so just to show that you know, that Middle Eastern people are just like everybody else, you know, trying to live their life and trying to be accepted. That's really what it comes to. The feedback has been amazing. Really, we've got really amazing feedback today, and from a lot of people that have seen the screener. I think everybody is touched by the story and the topic that is new. That is, we're touching on something that has never been discussed before in the questioning part. Because everybody that have seen the film said, "Oh, I thought the Q was queer." They didn't know what it stood for, and I'm glad that, you know, I didn't really set out to educate people because, you know, I don't want to be preachy in my storytelling, but I'm glad that we were able to help people learn something new, and so I think we've been really touched by how everybody has been receiving the film.
Yeah, there was a question recently that asked, I think in one of the people we were talking to said, if you could ask one question right now, what would it be? And so we talked about that, and the one question that we were asking was that if we all asked ourselves if we could each reach and help a jumper off a ledge, how would that make the world a better place? Because in the film, I mean, there were two stories really, right? There was the story of MJ, who was about to jump off, and there was the story of Jack, who was also about to jump off, but not literally. And in the process and in their conversation and being open, you know, I feel like they both saved each other, right? So in a way, when you do reach out and when you do try to help someone, in a way that comes back to you.
Absolutely.
You know, it comes back to you, and you are saved somehow, whether if it's now, whether it's later. But the world is beautiful, and when you do good in the world, definitely
You
beautiful
feel good.
things.
So it's kind of selfish actually to do good.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
Yeah,
you do it for
very
yourself.
selfish.
So we're
But-
selfishly enjoying telling
And
that story.
This is the first time I work with Ayman, and it was the most amazing experience. And I'm definitely going to work with him again, hopefully. But
Send me your
one
headshot.
thing I want to tell you about him is that he's the kind of director that would climb a rooftop ladder last. And I'll explain what that means. Because our film, you know, the scene is basically, most of the film is on the rooftop. And there was this really narrow ladder that we had to climb all the way up. And I'm afraid of heights. Well, until recently, I have been dealing with acrophobia. It's funny, that's in the film, acrophobia. And I got over that, but then when I saw that ladder, you know, and you don't know this, but I was
didn't
really
know that.
scared. But I wasn't gonna be like, oh, leave everything and help. But
the things actors do to keep their
yeah.
jobs.
But he was very compassionate. You know, he'd make sure everyone was safe. That was the number one thing. Safety, of course. And he was very compassionate human being. And I mean, working with a lot of people I do find that, but I mean, he was definitely someone that I would recommend anyone to work with, but
Thank you.
and he knows what he wants. A lot of directors know what they want, but they don't know how to communicate it, and that become difficult sometimes working with. But knowing what you want and knowing how to communicate it is definitely something that any actor or actress would love working with.
I think I was fortunate because I'm an actor as well, and I've worked with a lot of amazing directors, and in a way I learned a lot. And so when I started to direct my own stuff, I wanted to do everything that I liked about all the directors that I worked with, and to create a collaborative environment for the actors to give their best and be comfortable and feel safe. That it's not just physical safety, but feel safe to be vulnerable. You know? So that was really my main objective in creating the story.
It's beautiful, guys.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.